European season is just around the corner on Sorare, and today we're going to be talking about my gallery and what I'm doing to prepare for the upcoming changes. If you are watching this video, guys, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you've got any questions about anything that I mentioned today, please let me know down in the comments. All right, let's get into the video. Okay, guys, so as I mentioned, Sorare has some exciting upcoming changes in August. We've got some new modes coming in. The cap modes are all going. Obviously, we're going to have a bit of change in terms of the prize pools and what you can win and where you can win the best amounts. And I think there's going to be a lot of people in a similar situation to me, where we've done some changes, but we haven't quite sort of made the full change yet. So I'm going to talk through my plans for my gallery personally, and hopefully you can find some value in that, and maybe you're in a similar situation to me. So let's start nice and easy with my limited Saints collection. Now, I was thinking about selling this just to actually get a little bit more money into the account and then spend that on some rares. And I think it could have got me 2, maybe 3 decent rares. But as a Saints fan personally, and with us back in the Premier League, I thought, let's just keep it, see what we can win in the Premier League next season. And then we'll just sell everything that we win and then use that to buy more rares. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting to win a lot with this Saints collection in the Premier League next season. Obviously, they were very, very good in the Championship last year, but obviously the Premier League is much harder. These cards aren't going to score as well. There's going to be transfers in and out, but I'll use this collection as best as I can. And yeah, maybe we can win a few things when Saints randomly win 2-3-0. And yeah, hopefully we can obviously stay up as well, which would be great. But yeah, I'm not expecting loads from this, but anything which I win will just go into the gallery and just help fund my progress moving forwards. Now, in terms of the big first change, if you have watched my videos previously, I had a lot of cards in the contender region. We had at least 2 decent lineups in there, and gradually I've started to actually sell those off, and I've invested in some more MLS cards to try and win more during the summer, and also just move things around slightly and start to actually get some ETH into the account ready for some changes. Personally, I'm someone that always likes to actually punch up, and I feel like playing in Challenger and Champion, I can just win better cards there. Contender is quite fun because you can use a lot of random players, and it's quite cool mixing all of the different leagues, and it's a really good entry point. But I want to try and move my gallery forward, so just focusing in Challenger and Champion is going to be my next step. And the second reason for getting out of Contenders is mainly because of the new change and bringing in Essence. If you haven't seen it already, you're able to craft cards on Sorare. When you win boxes, those boxes have Essence in. You then use the Essence in the card factory, I think it's called, to then craft cards. And the big thing with that is the Essence which you earn impacts what cards you can win. So if I use 100% Contender's Essence, I can only win cards from Contender. And I don't want to be mix and matching too much Essence from too many different areas, so having some from Contender, Challenger, Champion. So I'm going to try and focus all the Essence that I've got from just Challengers and Champion as well. So the goal with these last 5 cards that I've got is to gradually sell them off, see if I can get as much money as possible for them. A lot of the cards have actually decreased in value recently, so I may hold them and wait to the start of the new season. But yeah, overall, we're going to obviously try and filter out those cards as much as possible, and start to actually move up into the different regions. In terms of the Challengers region, we have got mainly MLS in here. We do have a few other cards from the European leagues, but it's pretty much all focused on MLS. We've made some recent purchases with Hector Herrera, Ryan Gould, Benteke, Morris, Glad, Yaimar was fairly recently as well. And the goal is to obviously try and win as much as possible from now through to the start of the European season. I can use those MLS cards, I believe, all the way into like October anyway, which can then hopefully win me some cards from Europe when that starts off. And we are looking quite strong, to be fair. If you look at our gallery, We have all of the goalkeepers. The only backup I don't have is the one from Toronto. Just a little bit of a pain because Sean Johnson is with the States in the Copa America currently. So I can't use him, but I do believe they're probably going to go out, so he'll be back soon anyway. And then we've got Stuver and Clark as the other two goalies. In terms of defenders, glad I bought him and now he's injured, but he'll be back fairly recently, I believe. Yaimar has been scoring well. Dorsey's mainly for cap modes. Cascante is okay when he's back playing for Austin, but he's on international duty. And then Brooks Allen is obviously quite a good scorer, especially at home. Into the midfield, we're actually really strong here with Gould, Herrera, Delgado, Nagbe, Click, and Chara. Gould, Herrera, Delgado, Click, they're all my main midfielders. And then Nagbe and Chara I use currently for cap modes. The reason that I've got more mids here is just because I like to play two midfielders. So having like a Gould paired with Herrera is quite good for scoring, especially when they're both playing at home. And then in terms of the forward area, we have strengthened recently, bringing in Morris and Benteke. We do also have, Daniel Shaloi. Not sure how you say his second name. Manuel, Pansel, and Baird. Baird is injured. Manuel's cap mode. Probably cap mode for Saloy as well. And then our main three strikers will be Morris, Benteke, and Pansel. Benteke got a red card last game, so he's out for the next 2 games. And then in terms of champions, we do actually have a few rare cards here because our contenders cards from last season, quite a lot of them went up. I had a strategy of buying the best teams in like the last 2-3 months. And playing in season and trying to win as much cash as possible, which actually worked out pretty well. But the downside of that is now obviously all of these cards have moved up into champions, and it's obviously more difficult than playing in the second div. So we've got Abdeli, Jabal, Kafara, Hine, Apaya, Rabba, Honde, Gonzalez, and Robin Knock. Now, I'm not sure what to do here. At the moment, I'm leaning towards just keeping them, playing them in as low as I can in the champion divs, and just seeing what I can actually yield back from them. Even the worst teams will have, 4 to 8 games where they score pretty well. And hopefully in those games, we can actually yield something back. It should be a little bit easier in those bottom divs as well. And it sort of gives me a baseline of champion players. And then gradually, as I move into champion more, I can then build and start to actually buy some more players and build up that way. So I think that's what I'm leaning towards. The other sort of pathway is to just sell everything and then reinvest that into some other champion cards from better teams, basically. Now, in terms of my strategy moving forwards and looking at where I'm going to actually play cards and how am I going to handle there being no cap modes and that sort of thing, my plan is to obviously use the MLS cards in Challenger. That will then hopefully win me some cards from Europe when Europe then starts back up, which then feed gradually into more cards from when Europe starts to when Europe ends, which then obviously feeds into MLS, and sort of use those two different timings of those leagues and schedules to actually build them up gradually. The cap mode players, I'm hoping there's going to be enough special weeklies to actually use all of those players in. From what we've heard from Sorare, it seems like there's a lot of emphasis on there. When they first made all of these changes, it was there's going to be loads of special weeklies, and even recently it seems like that's still the same tune which is coming out of Sorare. So hopefully we get 2 to 4 special weeklies every week, which we can then use those cap mode players in. And that would be just a place where I dump all of those average players. And if they win me something, fair enough. Like I was saying, the limited cards will be played in Champion. That will then hopefully win me some Champion cards, which I can then sell. And the strategy overall is to gradually use all of these different pipelines and just build up an ETH balance to then reinvest into Champion and start playing Champion in Rare on a semi-competitive level. The reason that I want to move into Champion is I think one of the key sort of takeaways that I've seen from playing Sorare for 2 to 3 years now is that the best prizes are always in Champion. Generally, the best cards that have the most utility are normally in Champion. And from a business point of view, it makes sense that Sorare put as much resources and money into that area, as I'm sure that's where their biggest spend is in terms of partnerships with different clubs. And a lot of the marketing will always be around Champion. And I just feel like, for me personally as well, watching loads of Premier League and even recently watching the Euros, I've missed not having those cards and actually using them, and having players that play midweeks in Champions League and playing in the biggest competitions. It'd be cool for me to be able to, for instance, watch, the Champions League final and have 5 players from it. And I just feel like now is the time for me to move up, and hopefully we can do that fairly comfortably. It isn't going to be a quick transition. I think it's probably going to take me a good 3 to 6 months to actually get a lineup which is competitive, but that's going to be the overall goal moving forward. And then in terms of the whole classic / in-season approach, I'm going to be focused on classic, just because those champion cards in season are going to be so inflated with it being the first in-season year for a lot of these champion cards. So I'm going to stick to the classic competitions, try and win some more cards, gradually build up that champion gallery. And then if we get to January, February time, and I've got a good baseline of champion cards, if the price of those in-season champion cards have come down, maybe I will then look at purchasing some of those cards and having a sort of 3-4 month stint of trying to yield back what I've paid, and then maybe a little bit more as well. But for me, moving forwards, my gallery, I think, is going to be purely classic focused, just because it's the cheapest. I like winning cards, and also there's that added factor now of winning essence and then crafting those cards as well. Okay guys, that is going to be all for today's video. Thank you very, very much for watching, and as I mentioned at the start, if you've got any questions about anything that I mentioned, please make sure to let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.